Hi. In this video, we're going to take a slightly deeper look at how we can make edits within a Google Sheet and some of the formatting options that Google Sheets offers. Let's jump in. We're going to pick up using the same example from the previous video. The first thing that I want to talk about is the idea of a cell. So in Google Sheets, when someone mentions a cell, they're referring to these rectangles. So each one of these rectangles is a cell. And when you want to edit a cell, you can do it in a couple different ways. So you can see every time that I click on a cell, the information shows up in two places. It's showing up here in the cell itself, and it's also showing up in this text bar up here. So if I want to edit this cell, let's say instead of class 1, I meant to say class 4, I can click up here and I can edit it up here, and the change happens in the cell itself. We can also make the change directly in the cell. If we double click, it now gives us the option to make edits within the cell itself. This can be important if you have a lot of information in the cell and you don't want to delete all of the information, you just want to make a small change. The other way that you can change the information in a cell is you can actually just click on the cell and start typing, and it will automatically replace what was in there. But again, doing it that way is going to delete all of the information that was there first. When we're working in Google Sheets, we can select individual cells just by clicking on them. We can also select multiple cells by clicking and dragging. We can also select entire columns and entire rows. This is important for a few different reasons. First of all, if we want to insert or delete an entire column, we can do that by selecting the whole column. Then we can right-click and we can select Insert One Left or One Right, and this will give us an entire new column. Let's say in this case, we wanted to also add a column for running. So now we can add information for the running column. The same process works for inserting rows. So let's say that we wanted to insert a row at the top of the page that's going to function as a header. So we can click Insert One Above, we can click Insert One Below, and it will keep adding rows to the sheet. So now we can say exercise data, and this can be the header for our sheet. But we accidentally added too many rows. In this case, we can right-click and we can delete the row. We can also do multiple rows at the same time. So if we want to click and drag, we can select 2 rows at a time. We can also click and then hold Shift and click again, and it will let us select multiple rows at once. We can use this to insert multiple rows at once. So now if we right-click, it will say Insert 3 Above or Insert 3 Below. And we can do the same thing to delete. So now that we have 3 rows selected, we can right-click and we can delete rows 4 to 6 all at once. One thing that I want to emphasize, Google Sheets is really good about saving your work as you go, as long as you're connected to the internet. So it says last edit was seconds ago. This edit is saved. And so at any point, if you want to go back and undo something you did, you can click Edit, Undo. You can also do Redo. So Edit, Redo. They have command keys that can let you do this quickly. So on a PC, it will be Control Z, and on a Mac, it will be Command Z. You can hit that as many times as you want, and it will undo all of the work that you did before that. But the same thing works to redo. The commands for that are Control Y if you're on a PC and Command Y on a Mac. And you can hit redo as many times as you want. Google Sheets will have all of that information saved. Another benefit of selecting multiple cells at once is it gives us a lot of options when we're formatting. So a lot of times when you have a title row, such as the sports, dancing, running, walking, you can select that entire row, and let's make the entire row bold. So now we can see each of the words are bold. Another common thing that you'll do in Google Sheets will be to make the title row a different color. So we can click on Fill Color, and let's make it a light orange. The same thing works for selecting individual cells. So if we want to bold class 1, we can bold it that way, or groups of cells. So if we select all the classes and click bold, we can bold all of them at once. If we then want to remove the coloring from a row or from an individual cell, we can select those cells again. We click on the fill color and we select Reset, which will remove any fill color in that cell. But I'm going to leave the orange fill color, so I'm going to undo that by hitting Control Z or Command Z, depending on your computer, and we'll leave that orange. Another formatting option that Google Sheets offers is changing the width of an individual column or changing the height of an individual row. In order to do that, you're going to hover your mouse over top the lines dividing the columns. You click, and then you can change the width. You can also allow Google Sheets to auto-fit the width by double-clicking on that line, and it will make it the width of the largest word in that column. So again, we can double-click on each of these, but I'm going to undo that so that we have it a little bit wider. Additionally, just like a Word document, within individual cells you can change the font type, you can change the font size, and almost any other option that you'd be able to do within a Word document. Google Sheets also lets you move individual cells or groups of cells around. So let's say that instead of inserting the running in this column, we actually wanted running to come after walking. We can select the entire column and we can right-click, cut it. Now we see that there are dotted lines going around the column. That tells us that we have that information in our clipboard ready to paste. Now we can move to the right of the walking column. We can right-click and we can paste those cells. And so now it has moved the running column. And if we want to delete this column, we can delete the column. We can also move individual cells. So let's say that we actually want to move the data for sports from class 1 to class 3. We can copy that, Control C or Command C, and then paste it with Control V or Command V. I'm going to undo that though. We can also do the same for an entire group of cells. So let's say that we want to copy all 3 of these into the running column. When we click over here and paste, it'll show up here. Again, I'm going to undo that though. The final thing that I want to share are these tabs down here. So right now we see that we just have one tab. It's called Sheet 1. We can name this by double clicking on it. So let's call this Exercise Data. And now if we want to add a new tab, we can click this plus sign. It'll say Add Sheet. And now we have 2 tabs of data and we can move back and forth between them. So let's maybe say this sheet would be attendance data. And we could add each of the students' names in each class on this sheet. This is important because if you open someone's Google Sheet and you don't see the information you're looking for, it might just be that that information can be found on a different tab. So make sure that you check at the bottom of the page to see what other tabs are out there. Just again, I want to emphasize all of these changes are being saved as you go. So if we go back to our Sheets homepage, when we click back on that file, it has saved everything.